jump right into introductions then. My name is Reza. I'm currently co-owner and director at Data Lab, a data analytics consultancy. I joined Data Lab in 2015, so I'm just celebrated my 9-year anniversary. I joined as an analytics engineer. I studied industrial engineering and later did a diploma in strategic management. My journey with data started in around 2012 when I worked at Novus Holdings. This is where I was employed as a continuous improvement engineer and tasked with cost savings and productivity and improvement. And I really loved measuring the impact of the initiatives I was driving. So this is where I got involved with the BI team and later joined Data Lab. We first started working with Mukuru towards the end of 2019, where I met Saad. I have worked with many data and analytics leaders over the last 9 years, but Saad has really been one of the best. He can really create and drive strategy, but also if you ask him a specific question about a measure, he would probably know the fact table to find it. So neither the big picture nor the detail goes lost in him, but I'll let Saad take a minute to introduce himself as well.
Thanks, Reza, and thanks for the kind sentiments. I did try. So hi, everyone. My name is Saad Panjwani, and I head up business intelligence at Mukuru. Mukuru is a digital financial services platform for Africa's emerging consumer. We offer a range of financial products and services that allow our customers to send money, hold a digital store of value, and transact off that digital store of value. So to put it simply, our goal is to be there for our customers whenever they want to send, store, or spend. I've been with Mukuru for over 4 years now, and here at Mukuru, my team's job is to make sense of large and complex data sets, and we do this to help Mukuru make better decisions, automate tasks so that we improve staff productivity and streamline key business processes, find growth opportunities, save costs, and manage risks. I'm thrilled to join forces with Reza today and share my experience building and maturing data capabilities in business. Back to you, Reza.
Thanks, Saad. So some of you reported Eventbrite sign up was a bit complicated. If anyone agrees, please add the feedback at the end so that we can see if there's a way to make it easier. But during the sign up, I asked what the primary reason was for attending the webinar today. The responses were split quite evenly, and that's really good because we intend on spending similar amounts of time on each topic. But learning about data maturity and its impact was the highest, which was quite interesting for me. The agenda for today, we will spend about 10 minutes on data maturity. We'll look at different types of knowledge, the data maturity curve, and also unpack data maturity at Mukuru. We'll look at the building blocks of a data platform and also learn about Mukuru's data architecture evolution over time. We will also look at the investment required, so different budgeting approaches, and also Mukuru's investment and return on investment over the last 4 years. And then finally, we'll look at digital transformation success, some key success factors that drives that, and also learn what drove success at Mukuru. And then hopefully we'll have more than enough time for Q&A and discussion at the end. So I do want to encourage you to take the opportunity to ask whatever questions you have. So first of all, data maturity is a measurement of how advanced a company's data analytics capability is. The analytics maturity model maps the data analytics journey and the stages that companies experience as they progress in their understanding of data and their use of data as well. this maturity model gives you context of where you are now and also the stages ahead and what they look like. But before we look at the data maturity model, I would like to introduce 3 areas of knowledge. And this is so that you'll be able to place them on the curve when we look at maturity. So first is the known knowns. I know what I want to measure is sort of the snippet there. And the example is I know I need to measure my revenue growth and I know what it is. These are typically the initial KPIs agreed by management to run and organize the business and typically referred to as corporate BI. The second area of knowledge is the unknown unknowns. So I think I know what to measure, but I need to investigate. This is where self-service comes into play, where a person has access to the right historical data easily. And an example is, I think I know why we have a seasonal trend growth in revenue, but I need to determine, is it a specific product or an exchange rate, or what is it that's driving this change? And then finally, there's the unknown unknowns. I have no idea what insights are in my data. These insights could be something like you didn't know that a trending post on Twitter had an impact on the transaction volumes for a specific day. Typically, these correlations and predictions are really hard for humans to derive, and therefore we look to the data science and AI toolkit to help us. So just a quick question for Saad. How does each area of knowledge add value in Mukuru?
Thanks, Reza. Well, I think I'll start off with a bit of a philosophical belief, and a lot of my answers today will be based off this as well. So the belief is there's no truth in business, only knowledge. And if you want to get good at running businesses, you need to pursue knowledge. Here I'm defining knowledge as theories or models that allow you to better predict the business outcomes of your actions. And then more often than not, such a pursuit leads you towards the use of data. I've seen this practiced at Mukuru. And so from a corporate BI perspective, we surface and rigorously review known financial activity and efficiency metrics to develop a sense of business performance and the underlying sales, marketing, and commercial engine that support business performance. From a self-service perspective, we have employed a strategy of centralizing our data. We've modeled it and served it to the business for self-service access. And then the business then uses that self-service access to explore the drivers of business performance across the known metric categories that I mentioned earlier. This allows them to understand the causes behind the root causes behind performance. Why is the metrics increased or decreased? Where is that coming from? From geographies, sales channels, partners, customer cohorts and segments, and across time. And then with the above, they can start building a causal model of the business. And what I mean by that is how do inputs affect the outputs over time? And then from a data science and AI perspective, there we're aiming to answer how strong is the relationship between those inputs, whether it be website traffic, and how does what influence does website traffic have on your revenue and EBIT at the end of the day. So really ranking and measuring how strong are the relationships between various metrics and levers within the business. And then through hypothesis setting and experimentation, discovering what new inputs actually affect business performance. Is it certain types of promotional offers? How elastic are customers to price? And then also forecasting and predictive analytics there, where, for example, we forecast remittance sends and receipts at various pay-in and money collection points. That's to make sure that, for example, all collection points have sufficient cash inventory to fulfill on the promise we've made to customers. Yeah, so that's how we, I guess, traverse corporate BI, self-service, and data science. Yeah.
Very cool. Saad, I'm just going to take a minute. Apparently, there's a whole group of people sitting somewhere in a lobby.
Okay.
Doug, I don't know if you can try and help with that. Uh, bit difficult now. Neville let me know there's some people with him in a lobby and they can't access, so we'll have to see what's wrong. Um, Cool. So there are many ways to measure and understand data analytics maturity. We like the Gartner maturity model. Data analytics maturity grows through investing in the level of sophistication and also increasing the business value of data analytics. So the first stage is called no analytics, where businesses typically rely on spreadsheets and manually pull data from sources and ask questions like, what data do we even have? Typically, there are no standards for data collection or quality, and aggregated information is usually available long after the event occurred. Descriptive analytics, the company here starts answering questions about what happened. For instance, you might observe seasonal trends like increases in transactions close to typical paydays. However, this data still remains siloed and there's limited technology and analytical skills to integrate across insights across the organization. Level one and two are typically referred to as hindsight zones. Then we get to diagnostic analytics. Here, a central reporting database is usually established, and it helps you to uncover why certain events occurred. As an example, you might be able to correlate a spike in transactions to a particular customer profile or changes in an exchange rate. And this stage starts to provide deeper insight into explaining the reasons behind certain observed patterns. Predictive analytics allows the company to forecast future trends, for example, do correlations or clustering by analyzing vast volumes of historical data. For instance, you might be able to predict transaction volumes for the upcoming payday based on historical data of transactions and also exchange rates and other attributes, and use that to position your pricing better with the client for the transactions on that day. At this point, data is typically in a governed analytical model. You would typically have more advanced analytical skills, enabling better strategic planning and making use of some machine learning techniques and capabilities. Then there's predictive analytics. So this not only predicts outcomes, but also recommends actions. For example, it can suggest the optimal timing and target audience for a marketing campaign and maximize remittance volumes for that day. This stage combines advanced analytics with real-time data to guide decisions and actions together. Predictive and prescriptive analytics are usually referred to as foresight. So, Saad, can you maybe describe data maturity at Mukuru when you joined versus now?
Yes, certainly. So when I joined about 4 years ago, maybe just to paint a bit of context, so we had inadequate skills and capacity, and there was a lack of an operating model. So it was a small team lacking the depth and breadth of data engineering, data modeling, and analytics capacity. And we didn't have any guidance on how to interact and execute across the data lifecycle. The data stack was unstable. It was a POC was set up, and it remained in that POC stage, stuck there, sort of struggling to deliver reporting and analytics to the business, which was unstable, and took a really long time for a round trip to process data, 10 hours to be specific. And the data architecture was rather unscalable. There was no data model. We didn't have a pattern to ingest and integrate data. We didn't have a data model to sort of bring together our sources, multiple sources of data from different products or different business units. And that hurt productivity because every request had to be done. You answer one question, and so you move in a rather linear fashion, and there's lots of duplication of effort. And then from a product scope perspective, we were barely reporting on a single product. So what all that meant, and then also from a data management perspective, we didn't have any validations or verifications or business rule verifications. So our numbers didn't tie up with sources, either from the source system or other sources of reporting the business had. So it meant there was low trust in the data and multiple sources of truth. And there was low usage of our report. So essentially, where we were on the data maturity is that we could only provide some descriptive analytics for a slice of one of our products, which was often late, and the reliability was a bit questionable. But then across most of the business, our other products and business units, they had no visibility. So we were at stage 0 and 1. Reza, did you ask like what the state of things is now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Cool. So we are sort of executing on a data strategy that's born out of the business strategy that informs the data team's purpose, our people strategy, our skills and capacity, the technology we use, and as well as the processes. We use a hub and spoke operating model, which guides execution on that data strategy. And so what that has meant is that so we set up reliable and extensible data ingestion and integration patterns to support a growing number of data sources. And we've blended all that data into a single source to provide a customer 360 view. What that has allowed us to do is increase our surface area on descriptive analytics, which is, and I think will continue to be the lion's share of what we do. Mukuru is a fast growing company. We're launching into new geographies, new products, new product capabilities. And so the first thing is always to get a bit understanding of performance and baseline behavior. So descriptive analytics takes up 70% of what makes up 70% of what we deliver, and we'll continue there around 60%. In our delivery of self-service and applying advanced analytics, we've done quite a bit of work to highlight or uncover the drivers behind conversions. Let's say when a customer signs up, and what are the drivers behind conversions? What are the drivers behind retention? And when we do reactivate customers, how do we rank the contribution each of the data points we have in our data set? How do we rank them to how valuable that was in bringing that customer back? So that's how we are addressing the diagnostic analytics piece. From a predictive analytics at the moment, we are doing some forecasting to inform budgeting and cash inventory planning. And we're piloting at the moment with the new technology we've adopted, piloting a next best action model for our customers. And that will inform the promotional and cross-sell strategy. Prescriptive analytics there. So prescriptive analytics to me is around optimization and automation. So when we score a customer's likelihood to continue using the same product, upsell, or take on a new product, for example, we might rank that on where can we make the most profit. And so that's a rule that we bake into the analytical system. and that can sort of work human out of the loop with monitoring. At the moment, it is very much human in the loop there when we are executing on the outcomes from our analysis. Back to you, Reza.
Descriptive analytics are not dead. Was there anything particularly difficult to progress through on this sort of maturity journey that you've been on?
I'd say it's the enablers behind all of this, right? It's the people and skills, and then onboarding them, having that depth of skill in order for us to stand up a data stack, put together a extensible data architecture to first land and deliver descriptive analytics to the business. And I guess while we're trying to, so Mukuru, as I mentioned, is growing really fast, and so it's standing up all that new capability while trying to keep pace with the speed the business is moving. And so often the decision we had to make was to address and assist with go-to-market initiatives, and what that has led was an accumulation of tech debt, which slowed down some of our progress. And so yeah, I guess the underlying elements of the people, extensible data architectures, and working with the source system teams, so the data providers and custodians, to think about data when they're developing the data structures that actually support the applications. So often those source systems are created for a different objective than analyzing data, and then the management wants to analyze that data, and we're like, okay, we need to do magic converting that data into an analysis friendly view. And so that has been quite a journey that and we've made successes, and we continue to make successes there.
I think it's often that the data team needs to perform magic. Thanks, Saad. So the next topic of our discussion is around a modern data platform. So a modern data analytics platform comprises of a lot of these capabilities that Saad just mentioned: extract data, store, process, analyze, present data seamlessly, and very importantly, to the right user in the right format at the right time. These are typically cloud-based technology solutions that are easy to set up and offer the benefits of scalability, again, flexibility, cost effectiveness, and often overlooked, but very important, is that development agility to be able to respond to business change and business need. So what are the building blocks in a data platform that supports us on the journey to data maturity and getting to understanding the unknown unknowns? So first of all, we all have data. The data resides in the applications we use in our business processes: customer data, transactional data, finance data, call center, external data sources like markets or exchange rates, regulatory compliance. The list really goes on. And I think it's a particularly complex ecosystem in the financial services industry. And then on the other end, we have the user. We have different user personas interacting with the data very differently. So this list is also quite extensive. Executives might need daily dashboards to check the health of the business and whether targets are met. Managers might need real-time exception-based reporting with issues they need to resolve. Operations might need some notifications that informs them of the next action. We have analysts that might need access to large volumes of historical data. Some of our downstream applications might also be a user in this context. Call center agents might need a chatbot, and even customers and suppliers could be users. So we've got many different users of data in a business. Our data platform, therefore, needs to be able to output data in different formats. So notifications, dashboards, external reporting for customers, API shares with other systems. So various different ways we need to be able to output the data. And how do we get there? The first step in data maturity is that consolidated, governed, single source of data. So a data warehouse where we extract, store, and transform our data from our operational applications. The next layer on that is called the analytical model. Putting data in that database would not create much value. We need that semantic layer where business questions are converted to queries that can be executed on the database. This analytical model or semantic layer provides that single source of truth where the business rules are captured, and everyone's using the same logic. Saad mentioned a couple of things like returning clients, new clients. What is the calculation for flagging those clients and counting them and attributing value to them? These are the rules that's captured in that analytical model. Now successful self-service can start. We have access to the data in the way we need. We can create new models, test if they are useful, and if so, feed that information back into our sources. So we could feed groupings of customers into our CRM, like risk scores or other attributes for marketing campaigns. But we need to bring that logic in through the formal governed process so that everyone can use them. A need potentially arises to immediately analyze and report on potentially fraudulent transactions, for example. This is where we introduce streaming data pipelines, where we continuously add minimal required changes for specific use cases. And this is sitting outside of the data warehouse flow. As a graphical representation, because it's not a batch-driven process. This is a continuous stream of data. And then finally, we reach a stage where our data is complete, the data quality is good and governed, the technology is in place to support machine learning models and AI use cases, and we can start doing data science. So Saad, you've already given us some history of Mukuru's data architecture over time where you started. But maybe just in terms of this context, which of these are sort of building blocks are in place at Mukuru? And how did it evolve to get there?
Okay. So I would say we have all these building blocks with the exception of the streaming data that's currently an in-flight project. And just to touch on that streaming data where we loading data into an operational data store via change data capture. And so the data engineering team at Mukuru at the moment is, in the tool selection phase and POC phase. But with regards to the other building blocks, we have those firmly in place. And with our new sort of adoption of Snowflake, we actually just we're growing our capability within that area. So our data warehouse is growing from the sense of having a single dimensional model covering all of Mukuru's products at the moment and growing. Within Snowflake itself, we are working with Snowpark, and that gives us access to data science capability in terms of languages, in terms of model registries and monitoring. For that, from an analytical model perspective, so we throughout my tenure at Mukuru, we've used Power BI, and that's why I will continue to do so going forward. We have identified that when it comes to mining product log data, and which also requires low latency feed, we'll be looking at other product analytics tools there. in order to satisfy on that delivery here.
You mentioned a couple of technologies here, and you obviously went through a data platform modernization a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
What was the main reason for that, and how did you approach technology selection?
Okay. So we were researching like the business case development for our Snowflake migration started out in 2022. And I guess the key reasons for that was scale and productivity of the productivity of the BI team and our velocity to be able to move with the business as they launch new products in terms of making available new descriptive analytics, making available the diagnostic analytics in order for the business to understand, hey, what levers can we pull to influence business performance. We were consistently lagging behind the business. We loaded data on a single batch, which took a pretty long time every day, 7 to 8 hours. We couldn't mine semi-structured data, and that was increasing in terms of the data the business wanted to understand. And so it was just like walking through treacle, trying to transform semi-structured data within that environment. And I guess we could only deliver an insight in a dashboard, and we couldn't sort of integrate that into CRMs, reverse ETL, and other systems in order to embed data more part of the operational business processes and actually help the business reach operational excellence. And so that was the context behind research and a business case behind on a new data platform. In terms of the approach we took, so I guess what comes top of mind is partnering with experts within the space that have deep experience across multiple data stacks in terms of the design, architecture, execution, and implementation. It's really difficult to do it on your own as a small team that also has to manage BAU with to the business. And so from an approach perspective, ensuring you can partner with experts. From a delivery model perspective, structuring your roadmap to deliver on that new tool, a new platform by like creating and delivering MVPs, and then using those MVPs to then secure the budget and secure the capacity and ring fence either internal and or external capacity to work on implementation of a new tool or technology or new method. In that approach, like connecting with the business is really important, down to dedicated one-on-one engagements with level of line of business execs to learn their strategies, pain points, opportunities, and how will data help them better execute on their strategies. Then you can use that information, those learnings, and prioritize them to inform the functional and non-functional requirements of a new data stack. And then it was once we sort of had those line of business engagements and had selected a partner, we went into like vendor engagements where we reviewed the capabilities across the top platform as a service, software as a service providers, Azure, AWS, Palantir, Snowflake. At the time, we didn't look at Databricks or GCP, just from an architectural fit with Mukuru's existing system. But then if I was to expand on our technology selection criteria, we looked at several categories. I won't mention them all. I just mention a few key ones here that come to mind. It was the platform implementation paradigm. Here, what I mean by that is it infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service? So we were a small and growing team, and so what we went for a managed service. What we didn't want to spend any time managing infrastructure. We wanted something that we could just load our data, put our governance and data security there, and then execute. Performance and scalability was an important selection criteria to allow on-demand elastic scaling. But then I guess what was really important for us is, earlier I mentioned in terms of the reasons why we sought a new data platform is we couldn't support semi-structured data, we couldn't support advanced analytics use cases, we had to integrate with many other tools in order to stand up various use cases. And what that meant is that we needed additional skills dedicated to just managing tooling and system integrations. And so what we were looking for was a single platform that supported the common languages we use in data: SQL, Python, Java, Scala, data formats, so structured, semi-structured, unstructured, analytical techniques. So it could support your normal BI reporting, and then it can support advanced analytics like time series, fraud and anomaly detection, forecasting. It can support large volumes of data, geospatial analysis, and then it can also support to future proof our ourselves. You can also support various architecture patterns, whether you want a data lake, a data warehouse, lake house, and various, I'm sure, mesh, and there's so many now. We follow a data warehouse architecture pattern, and so we were looking for one platform where we can load our data in one place and stand up all those use cases. It must be future fit for architectural patterns. And then another key consideration was a skills fit. With our existing team, as well as the skills we could, within reasonable timeframes, bring into the business within budget, right? We needed a platform that aligned with that. An important element is also cost, the licensing, the setup cost, the implementation cost, and ongoing maintenance of the platform. As I mentioned earlier, we chose a we went for a managed service platform, so there's less ongoing maintenance and administration, legacy style administration of a platform. And we opted for pay as you use, so that it could allow incremental value delivery. That was important for us. And then we wanted a platform that had a good delivery track record, I guess, and people behind that platform. They must have a solid product strategy and roadmap that where we can actually see alignment with some of the use case and goals that we want to solve for the business. But then also, I guess what was really important was speed to value post setup. Right after you set up your data platform, how quickly can you move to then load data in, transform, and serve that data to the business? And so that was really important for us.
Thanks, Saad. Doug shared some questions with me. I'll give you one question to think about, or maybe leave the answer for the end. So, what have been some of your key learnings? What would you do again, and what would you try and avoid? So, I'll give you some time to think about that one.
Okay.
And then two other questions from the audience, which I think you've answered, is what has been your delivery process? Have you delivered through BAU or through strategic projects? I think you mentioned balancing that at the beginning was difficult, and you did use some external capacity to get you there. And then how have you organized your teams for delivery?
Okay. Would you want me to answer that now or towards at the end? I'm happy either way.
No, you can give a quick answer now.
Okay, cool. So how do we manage this while delivering on BAU? Yeah, lots of gray hairs because of that. So the approach we took was deliver value quickly and early on an MVP, and then use that MVP to secure the buy-in and budget. And what will it take for us to implement this at scale? Okay, we have this customer segmentation MVP that can support direct marketing, product experiences, customer experience. However, like we're using a limited set of data, we can't sort of refresh it efficiently. And so we need X time, X capacity, skills, or tooling in order for us to be able to do that. Is this important enough for the business, for you, that we can secure that budget? And if it's like, yes, in principle, then we go there and build that business case, estimate what will it take, what tools, people, process, and timelines will it take to stand up a business-wide customer 360, so extending that customer segmentation. And so that's the approach we took. So and then that becomes a strategic project for the team and the business. And so we delivered value across a number of use cases across sales, within compliance, within marketing and commercial, and we couldn't scale all of those, and we couldn't extend them to use additional other data sources. And so that then supported us in like, hey, we actually need a new data platform here. And that's how we got the buy-in and support for that. One of the other questions was how have I structured the team in order to drive delivery? So it's a hub and spoke structure. So centralized support, decentralized execution. Within the center, that's where the technology is managed, standards are set, data is loaded into a central location, and thereafter it's modeled into a warehouse. But what I mean by that is it's a extensible data model, your DIMs and facts across all your products and business business domains. So that's centralized. And then in terms of the delivery teams, so, analysis teams that are staffed with a team lead that has a product management hat on. And analysts, which are of the flavor of to provide data analysis and advanced analytics, but also have a strong skill at development, SQL development to develop data marts and models to support self-service access to the data. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Saad. I'll speed up from my side a little bit. So I think let's quickly cover budgeting approaches. So how do we look at investment in data analytics? So by now, I'm hoping some of you are starting to get excited about this journey and wondering about a key question. So what will it cost? We won't ask Saad that. But do note that like all of the information supplied here is from findings from our clients, various opinions and research. They're not empirical and really need to be used as a guideline. So fairly bold concept, but organizations with a mature BI function spend at least 1% of their annual revenue on BI. So most of you will be able to do the math here for your business. What would we normally recommend? And I think this kind of just reiterates what Saad has been saying now. Start small and scale quickly. Really short and sweet advice. I think the idea would be to prove the value by spending a small amount initially through delivering like a high value type of POC, and then scale that quickly to over the next 2 to 4 years as the organization really adopts data-backed decision making and see the value. This graph represents like a theoretical investment percentages as you grow along the data analytics maturity curve, and importantly, the business value that it drives. I think we always need to remember that. So depending on your business, these journeys can look very different. So if you are a small, fast sailboat, agile business with enough cash reserves, you could take the orange route there and get there really quickly. But if you're a large business with lots of legacy implementations, stakeholders, governance processes, and regulatory requirements, the large cruise liner route might be more appropriate for you. So what I want to ask Saad here is, what would you say was Mukuru's investment in data analytics, high, average, or low for the industry?
I'd say like within the implementation phase, around high investment, because there's a large people and expertise cost in order to stand up the technology. And then I guess after that, in terms of ongoing running and support, that's around average. Yeah.
How would you like measure and assess return on investment at Mukuru in these type of spend?
So earlier I mentioned that a big part of our delivery is decision support. And often when you are supporting helping people make better decisions, like the value you add is a bit indirect. So it's difficult to come up with a rand figure on like this is how much you've delivered to the business. We have sort of surveyed the business to get an understanding of how much trust do they have in the business over time, how much. How has their confidence in sort of carrying out their daily activities and making decisions, how has that changed over time, the increases in data use over time? So earlier I mentioned that sort of our daily active users on our Power BI reports is 80 on average, 250 monthly active users, and that has increased by 25, around 25% over the last 18 months. And so what that shows is that's a clear signal in that there's the business trust the data. They're using that. They've incorporated that in more of their day-to-day workflows to use data to support their decisions, measure how well they're doing on their strategies, uh, use data as a basis for formulating new strategy. Um, I also mentioned that we do spend some time automating tasks to improve staff productivity and streamline processes. And there, from a task automation perspective, we've saved more than 150 hours a month in streamlining processes, in streamlining key business processes for the business, be it in finance or compliance. Um, we are in the room when it comes to product design and project delivery, and so while we don't have like, hey, we added R1 million, data is in the room now when it comes to designing products so that we can inform the data architecture, and we're a key sort of checkpoint or sign off for project and product delivery, because the business really relies on our output to measure performance and then actually assess where should they go next from there. And I guess as a just double clicking on the trust in our data, soon we're going to be serving data transformed insights from the BI layer directly back into Mukuru's production system and customers. So our Mukuru's end users, people who want to send money or store money, will be getting there'll be personalized offers and educational guidance served directly to them. And I think that speaks to one, how far we've come, and the sort of the importance and trust that the business is placing in the data. Yeah. So while I don't have a rand figure. I'm reasoning on the value we're adding through like the use in the data. That in that it's grown in leaps and bounds.
No, that is a great point. Final comment on budgeting approaches from my side. How do we allocate this budget? So some recommended guidelines, definitely invest the most in new development, 65% or more new business value being added. This is what we need to work on. We need to make sure that we do allocate budget and time to innovation, but very importantly, adoption. So often adoption is overlooked, and that could end in a situation where the investment is adding limited value. So I think in the case of Mukuru, with the amount of users and the volume of that usage, it indicates like that there's good adoption, and that means there's good return on investment. Tools and tech should not be your biggest expense. We suggest about 10%. I think Saad also alluded to this earlier, but that means finding consumption-based technologies that are cost-effective and allows the costs to increase, but through usage and through like adding more value in the business. And then finally, about 5% on planning and 5% on operational support, SLA and bug fixes. This seems really difficult. I guess there's a lot of ideas that database administration and management is a big portion of work that needs to be done. But this is typically why you would go choose a managed SaaS kind of platform. Oh dear, where am I going with the slides? Sorry. Saad, in which area do you focus most of the investment now? And maybe
So it's
over
going to be
time as has changed?
in new development. So now that we've earlier this year we've finished our migration project, and so it's actually leveraging all the new capability within Snowflake to for new development and delivery to the business.
Then final section here, we're running out of time. Digital transformation is the process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing business processes, culture, customer experiences, but ultimately meeting changing business and market requirements. So we find that most leadership teams struggle with digital transformation plans. This is typically because of unclear ROI, really complex or long roadmaps, technical limitations, bad quality data, and also often a wild growth of ungoverned, siloed sort of POC implementations. The managing director and senior partner at BCG, I can share the link, but it's on the slides. Patrick Forth talks about research that they conducted to determine empirically derived factors for successful implementation of large-scale digital transformation initiatives. And they shared some of these statistics. So they found that 70% of digital transformations fell short of their objectives. Of that, 44% create limited long-term change and 26% resulted in limited value. So we can understand why leadership teams struggle with this digital transformation program situation. So how do we overcome this? I guess, like Saad also mentioned, you need a good plan and you need some good advice to start off with. Where does this plan start? It starts by answering some critical questions that every management team faces at the beginning of a transformation journey. Why are we doing this? Is it become more responsive to a rapidly shifting customer needs, or is it a productivity overall? Why are we doing this? Second is, what should we do? Just to clarify the why are we doing this, then essentially quantifies that return on investment. Second, what should we do? Digital transformation can mean different things. It could focus on people, like scaling agile practices, or it could be overhauling technology, like moving from legacy systems to the cloud. Or some companies really zero in on something very specific, like personalized marketing or end-to-end customer journeys. But this question needs to be discussed in terms of what should we do. And then finally, how do we implement this? This is where leadership, governance, resources, and sequencing starts coming into play. How do we ensure that we can get this over the line? Answering these questions really lays the groundwork then for the successful sort of rollout from strategy to execution. From BCG's research into the 30% successful digital transformations, they found some cool common success factors. And I think this brings a lot of what Saad said as well into context. So first of all is an integrated strategy and clear transformation goals. So this describes the why, the what, and the how, specific to quantified business outcomes. The second thing was leadership commitment from executives to middle management. Saad spoke about really driving it from a strategic intent perspective. These companies where they had committed leadership teams had more success. They deployed the high caliber talent. So the successful companies identified and freed up the most capable resources to drive the transformation program. an agile governance mindset that drives broader adoption. So these leaders addressed roadblocks quickly, they adapted to changing context, and drove this fail fast, learn culture in the organization. Effective monitoring towards defined outcomes was another thing. These companies that established clear metrics and targets around processes and outcomes with sufficient data availability and quality. And then finally, business-led modular technology data platforms. These companies had put in place fit for purpose, modern technology architecture, driven by business needs, but that enabled them to scale. It enabled performance, rapid change deployments, and various other things. So a question for Saad, what role does okay, I think this one you've answered multiple times now. I'll skip over that. What of these things would you say contributed most to the successful digital transformation so far at Mukuru?
I guess it would be the leadership commitment from executives down to across senior leadership and middle management. They're modeling on how to use data to make decisions, data being having a seat in the table, and it being used to ratify and formulate strategy. And also their patience, because it is a journey. So leadership commitment has been really key at Mukuru. Aligning, really getting a strong understanding of the business strategy, pain points, and what metrics do executives care about, and sort of relaying, giving back feedback and delivering solutions that actually provide measurement into those metrics that the business leads care about and how those are changing. That sort of gets you buy-in and showcases that you understand the strategy. You are an effective partner, and so you'll be credible with further investment in either into people or technology. And then I guess a key one underpinning all of this is just a motivated team of skilled experts.
So final comment from my side. What do we do now? I have prepped a very basic assessment for you. I will share the link in the email after the event. It contains 2 assessments, the data maturity one and a digital transformation readiness assessment. Data maturity has 36 questions, multiple choice answers covering some dimensions of data maturity. Digital transformation has about 25 questions, also multiple choice. And in a small team of 2 to 3, you'll be able to complete this assessment in 90 minutes. I will share this with you. If you need any assistance or have any questions around the assessment, I'd be happy to jump on a call and help. Or if you just want to bounce some feedback in terms of the scores and based on the answers that you provided. With 1 minute left, I'm sharing the QR code for feedback. I will leave it on the screen for now. Thank you very much, Saad. I do hope you've got a couple of minutes if there's still some Q&A to follow up on. But let me check that out. And that's the kind of the end of the talk. We will do some Q&A now. Thank you all for joining. And thank you, Saad. It was really lovely chatting to you.
Thanks, Reza. I enjoyed sharing a bit of my experience. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. They might be for you, Reza, as well, not limited to me. Yeah.
I think the only question unanswered here at the moment that I can see is how did you migrate the new data platform? Did you first clean up your legacy system or did you start from scratch?
No, so we didn't start from scratch. We did a lift and shift so that, yes, we had some subpar practices, but like we moved the data from our old Corolla into the Ferrari, and then we optimize in the new platform. That allowed us to, I guess, reduce the amount of time that we are managing two platforms. So it was we took a lift and shift strategy. We did implement new tooling, so Matillion on the data ingestion side, and so there was a bit of re-engineering there, not a lot. So yeah, you can't move away from re-engineering entirely. Yeah.
And then that final question, what has been some of your key learnings? What would you do again, and what would you try and avoid?
So earlier I mentioned so delivering small and showing value. However, when we actually went to implement, we've started off by first like, hey, let's centralize all the data. Let's bring all the raw data into the environment, and then move horizontally. And that was a bit in like at odds with our approach, like the approach we used to secure the investment for the platform. And so we had to course correct in that. It's important to deliver vertically, so load just what the data you need, and then model it and serve that to the business, and then work out your data operational process, your CI/CD, and how you're gonna what's your development environment, QA environment, and deployment automation into your production. Work out the kinks there, train the team on how to do that. And so what that allows is that from early on, your team can work alongside, whether you have a ring fence team for implementation or an external partner for implementation. If the process for getting something into production is set up early, a larger group, more team members can contribute to that process, right? And so we delayed a bit, and what that meant is that some team members that were not on the migration and working on BAU couldn't join that team on adding new data. But also what that meant was that some work had to remain on hold. Some projects had to remain on hold because we were a bit in limbo. We don't want to start it on the old system, but we can't start it in the new system. However, if we had worked out our end-to-end deployment process upfront, we could then add the new capability on the new system.
Right. Thank you, Saad. I don't see any further questions. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you again, Saad. It was great to have you. Cheers.
Wonderful.
Have
Any
a
other
good...
questions? I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.